A man injured in a knife attack in a central restaurant. And the government to study the definitions of poor quality subdivided flats to help solve housing problems for the needy. In a climb for peace, renowned climber Alain Robert, known as the French Spider-Man, on Sunday ascended a tower in Paris's business district. He said the climb up the 220-meter-high Hila Tower was a call for peace amid the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Robert said he was not taking sides in the war, but added he feels the important thing is for the parties to listen to each other and sign peace accords. It took him 2 hours to get to the top of the building. The 56-year-old has previously climbed skyscrapers in Hong Kong and around the world. In the U.S., a funeral was held on Sunday for the president of a Detroit synagogue who was killed over the weekend. Police are still searching for a motive, saying they have no evidence so far that the attack was linked to the victim's faith. The incident comes at a time when Jewish and Muslim communities are on edge across the country. More details from NBC News.
Tonight, Detroit blindsided by heartbreak.
We love you so much.
At a funeral today, family and friends said goodbye to Samantha Wall, a Jewish synagogue board president who Detroit police say was found early Saturday repeatedly stabbed and killed.
She believed in humanity, which of course is a terrible irony for today.
Michigan's Attorney General, who knew Wall, calling her death a brutal murder. Investigators discovering a trail of blood leading to the 40-year-old's home where they believe she was killed.
Our community has lost just a tremendous, tremendous human being.
Wall's friend Sarah DiGilio says she made everyone feel special.
So she was actively trying to bridge divides
Yes.
between different faith groups.
Yes.
Wall's death comes as federal authorities are concerned about attacks on Jewish Americans, Arab Americans, and Muslim Americans because of the Israel-Hamas war. Detroit investigators have not announced a motive here, but this afternoon, the city's police chief making a point of saying so far, no evidence has surfaced suggesting that this crime was motivated by anti-Semitism. News of the stabbing comes on a tense weekend. In New York City, some at a pro-Palestinian demonstration clashing with police. Earlier this month in a New York City subway station, police say a woman was punched in the face. The suspect allegedly telling her it was because you are Jewish. And in Illinois last Saturday, authorities say a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy was stabbed to death, allegedly targeted because of his Muslim faith and the war overseas. Divisive times making Wall's death an all the more heartbreaking loss.
Back locally, a man was injured in a knife attack at a restaurant in Central this afternoon. The male victim sustained multiple injuries to the back, to the hand and back, and was stretchered away for treatment. The incident happened in a restaurant at 15B Wellington Street. Police received a report at around 4 p.m. that 3 non-ethnic Chinese individuals charged into the eatery and attacked the 50-year-old man dining there. The 3 suspects then fled the scene in a car. Investigations into the attack are underway. Chief Executive John Lee is poised to deliver his new policy address on Wednesday. It's understood his new proposals would include studying the definitions of poor quality subdivided flats and the rollout of relevant housing measures. Jackie Lin with more.
Back in 2021, Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, outlined his 6 expectations for Hong Kong, one of them bidding farewell to subdivided flats. After a district tour of Yuen Long last month, Chief Executive John Lee said the administration was studying ways to take action to tackle the least ideal living conditions in Hong Kong. It's understood the government is planning to set out better definitions of subdivided flats of a poor quality in tackling the city's housing problem. 4 months ago, TVB News interviewed a family of 4 residing in this shoebox home. Ms. Yu, mother of the family, expressed hopes that the government's latest move could expedite their application for public housing, for which they've been waiting 7 years. Silai Shan, deputy director of the Society for Community Organization, said the government could assess whether a subdivided unit is of a poor quality based on a list of criteria. They include the average living space per person, ventilation rate, overall environment, and availability of a kitchen. Xi said the government should bar landlords from letting flats deemed to be poor quality subdivided units. Lawmaker Bill Tang added the administration should also prioritize the handling of such flats with children as tenants. Actions to be taken include establishing a database within 2 years to facilitate the relocation of these minors to transitional housing. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Sources say the policy address will encourage couples in the city to have more children, with authorities offering a special incentive for every new child born. Some members of the Executive Council and the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions said the government should place a stronger emphasis on post-birth policies. Timothy Lee reports.
Hong Kong's fertility rate remains among the lowest in the world and is a concern for authorities. In an effort to increase the public's desire to have more children, the newest policy address may implement a policy offering a $20,000 allowance for every new child born. But the incentive has also raised doubts about its effectiveness. Executive Council member Lam Ching Choi said many mothers are more worried about finding suitable childcare services and the duration of maternity leave than just money. He added the city's policies on employment are outdated and that it would help mothers if work hours are more flexible. This, as HKFTU Chairman Kingsley Wong suggested authorities strengthen childcare services while calling for further tax exemptions for working mothers. Wong cited Singapore as an example where mothers would receive a tax exemption of 15% for the first child and 20% for the second. He said he believes there's no single strategy to deal with the city's low fertility rate and that the SAR could learn from measures adopted by other countries and territories. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee also revealed that his attire on the day of his policy address will heavily feature the color green. The CE posted on social media the green tie and scarf he will wear and mentioned that they were designed by students from the Hong Kong Design Institute. He noted their design was inspired by patterns from the ancient dynasties of Imperial China, mixed with some modern elements. The designers said they hoped their work would symbolize the continuation of Chinese tradition. Lee also took the opportunity to encourage various sectors to offer young people more creative opportunities. Still ahead, Argentina's economy minister has a surprise lead over a populist candidate after the first round of the presidential election. Grave sweeping during Chungyung Festival. And customs officers seize almost 50,000 smuggled Chinese mitten crabs. Welcome back to TVB News. Argentinian voters surprised pollsters and made a mockery of predictions as the economy minister Sergio Massa got the most votes in Sunday's presidential election. Massa did not get a large enough majority to win outright, but the ruling party had been expected to struggle. There will now be a runoff for the presidency next month. David Garrett reports.
This man is dressed as a chainsaw, and it's not for Halloween. This Argentinian voter is a fervent supporter of right-wing candidate Javier Milei. The Libertarian has vowed to chainsaw the economy in his electioneering as he tried to engineer victory. Milei told his supporters it was time to tear down what had gone before. He is not planning on doing things by half, with policies including replacing the peso with the US dollar and stopping trade with China. As the radical economist went to vote in his home city of Buenos Aires, it looked like he would lead after the first round of voting, although probably fall short of the 45% threshold needed to win. That was what the pre-election polls forecast, but voters sometimes change their mind, and with a high turnout of 74%, predictions can be guesswork. Current President Alberto Fernandez announced in April he would not run. He has overseen near economic disaster, with inflation levels at their highest for 30 years. Fernandez was hoping citizens would entrust his economy minister, Sergio Massa, with the task of turning things around. And as the results came in, it seems they may have given the ruling party another chance. Massa had surprisingly collected the most votes in the first round, with more than 35%. Milei trailed in second with a little over 30%. Patricia Bullrich of the main Conservative centre-right opposition coalition got just under 24% to finish third. Massa celebrated the surprise success with supporters, the 51-year-old saying he'll cut the deficit and defend social welfare. Milei is confident he can win in November's runoff against Massa. He has the support of the Bolsonaro family, who led a right-wing government in Brazil for 3 years.
Milei is the only one that speaks something different from the others. All the others that are running against Milei, they had their opportunities, and they weren't successful in taking Argentina away from this crisis. So with Milei, we can see a very strong libertarian.
The runoff is on November 19th. Campaigning starts again. David Garrett, TVB News.
Japan's leader Fumio Kishida announced income tax cuts and subsidies. The prime minister describes his own move as an unprecedentedly bold measure. In a speech to start a new parliamentary session, Kishida said it's time to shift from a low-cost and cost-cutting economy to one backed by growth. He wants to help households hard hit by the rising cost of living. Previously, Japan's government had seemed unlikely to offer tax breaks because Kishida needs the money to fund his plan to double the defense budget over the next 5 years. A survey last week had the prime minister's approval rating at an all-time low. The opposition has called tax cuts a vote-buying attempt. Many people paid tribute to their ancestors during the Chungnyeong festival today. Here at the Diamond Hill Cemetery, parents brought along their children, carrying bags of paper offerings, incense and food, as well as bouquets of flowers to honor the tradition. As the fixed penalty for littering has been increased to $3,000, authorities reminded grave sweepers not to leave behind offerings and rubbish after the rituals. And since 1998, the SAR government has held memorial services during the Chungnyeong Festival to commemorate those who died for Hong Kong in World War II. Among those in attendance today were Chief Executive John Lee, Legislative Council President Andrew Leung, and Chief Justice Andrew Chung. Tomorrow will mark the 5th anniversary of the opening of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge. Since its inauguration, some 36 million people have crossed the border via the bridge. Jackie Lin with more.
The
Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge was officially opened in 2018, a mega project touted as the engineering project of the century. Mr. Xing here said he came back from Australia to marvel at the bridge, which he said has been beautifully built. Ms. Chung here said the bridge has brought much convenience, with traveling to Macau on board ferries no longer being the only option. That's especially when high-speed ferry services have come in lower frequencies these days. Over the past 5 years, including 3 years of pandemic-induced border restrictions, the bridge recorded a daily usage by around 20,000 people. 55% of them Hong Kong or Macau residents. The bridge also saw 7.5 million vehicle crossings. This manager of a Zhuhai delivery company for fruit supplies to Hong Kong said the reduced travel time via the bridge alongside the 24-hour border clearance had helped spur the development of logistical sectors. 5 years ago, TVB News crossed the border via the bridge alongside Hong Kong entrepreneur Kong Kit, who has businesses in Zhuhai. At At the time, Kong pointed out the lack of clarity in instructions around the bridge. Now Kong says such problems have been rectified. Using the bridge around 3 times a week, he praised the streamlined cross-border procedures, which takes just 30 seconds on average for customs clearance. Still, only around 8,000 vehicle crossings are recorded at the Hong Kong port of the bridge every day, lower than the SAR government's daily target of 10,000 vehicles. The local transport industry hopes governments both on the mainland and in the 2 SARs will further ease application restrictions for schemes, including the northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles and a similar policy for Macau vehicles. They include expanding the daily quota of 300 permits. The industry added the SAR government should build more car parks near the Hong Kong port to facilitate mainland vehicles traveling to the city by way of the mega bridge. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The Customs and Excise Department has busted the largest ever case of smuggled Chinese mitten crabs. Authorities seized almost 50,000 crabs worth an estimated $7.2 million. 1 person was arrested. Customs personnel found the crabs yesterday at the Lok Ma Chau control point while searching a truck claiming to transport around 300 pieces of electronic equipment. The driver failed to provide relevant health certificates for the crabs. Around 48,000 Chinese mitten crabs were seized, weighing more than 10 tons. The 57-year-old truck driver was arrested. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.